And there we are. Hello, everybody. And hello, Lauren. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Of course. Yes, Mulder and Lauren. That's right. That's right. Crossover time. That's fucking right. Let's fucking go. I've been very excited to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm super excited too. I was reading about this Bloodborne PSX thing earlier, and it sounds fascinating.
It's very cool. It's very cool. So yeah. Well, so much ago, I've been reading about this baseball thing, and that sounds pretty cool.
It's true. I am the rare sports transsexual. I'm here representing our small subclass of people who enjoy getting out in the sun and hitting a ball with a little stick. It's true. I have a podcast. For people who don't know me, it's called Betting Around. It's a kind of a lefty, LGBT-ish oriented podcast about baseball and MLB and sometimes sports in general. It's a slow season right now because the baseball players are going to strike and it's going to be a whole mess. So it's mostly talking about labor union stuff right now, which is weird. But that's my only pitch. Okay.
I was about to say, because I had read about that, and I was going to say, so I haven't spent a lot of time on the leftist bent recently because there's not a lot of balls being hit.
Yeah, usually the off season is like a boring process of just waiting to hear who's going to get paid $300 million.
Yeah.
Now we're going to find out whether anyone gets paid anything. So it should be a really good time.
That's like maybe more exciting though. I don't know.
For a very specific kind of person, yes. For most baseball fans, it's the most dreadful thing in the world. But we get a weird thrill out of it.
Oh yeah. No, I mean for your specific block of podcasting for that month, it is better. For everyone else, it's worse. Like objectively and clearly.
Precisely.
But it's like, I don't know, it's like, I had Chris Person on a couple weeks ago, it's like the example of like, when a game comes out and it's really, really awful, that's like a good week for him, because his job is to find like clips of games breaking. And so I assume that's the same way, when you're like, a leftist baseball podcaster, it's like, hey, the baseball players are going on strike. You're like, oh, suddenly I'm incredibly cool, like, more qualified than any of my peers to fucking do this.
That is, we're hoping that'll happen. Until they actually go on strike, technically it's still a lockout, the whole thing's complicated. The problem right now is like there's no news at all because no one talks about it until it happens. So we're like desperate for content. Like we're actually watching like baseball animes and doing breakdowns of those right now. Just because and we're gonna eventually have to probably watch like the South Korean baseball league just because there's gonna be nothing else going on.
No. But, God, ain't that just the way though? It's like, does South Korea has a baseball league now? I always heard Japan was like the hot, not American baseball league.
Oh yeah. Japan has the NPB and South Korea also has a league. It's actually grown a lot in the last couple of years, and it was a big deal in 2020 because they could play when the American players couldn't because they actually took COVID seriously.
Yeah, and whereas we did this. I liked this thing we did with professional sports where we kind of just did fucking whatever for like a long time.
It was great. Like it's totally on you guys if you get sick. We're here to make money. Just get out there and play.
Yeah. God. So we're hopping into this. This is Bloodborne PSX. Somebody has demade Bloodborne to look like a PlayStation 1 game. And it came out today. And so I was like, oh, I should probably have that on the stream where everybody comes and talks about Bloodborne all the time.
Absolutely. And I'm curious how much of your audience like played PS1 games when those were a thing. Is it like purely or like a retro experience for a lot of people? Or like is it just like do you think there's people for whom like this is like more of an aesthetic thing where they like have seen those games contextually but never really played much themselves?
I think that there's an interesting thing going on right now where there are people like, millennial aged people who are familiar with these things and are trying to create these games that just gotta name him baseball. Who are creating these things out of, nostalgia and remembering them. But obviously, a lot of media is being consumed by, these days by younger people. And so I think that you're getting to this point now where you have people who are creating low poly horror out of a sense of nostalgia, but it's creating like a new wave of people for whom this is simply an aesthetic decision. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It rules. It's great because I'm going to have like uncouple the years of my brain where I thought this is like the ugliest stuff in the world, but it's like genuinely really cool.
Just take a bad haircut. Perfect. Love it. Preview hat. You love to see it.
Absolutely. And really, I'm thinking like, there was no way a PS1 game had 17 or 18 hair colors.
No, absolutely not. We take a little bit of liberties with the with what is defined as PlayStation.
As they should. As they should. There should be at least more than 2 polygons per character model.
So how long have you been doing batting around, Lauren?
We hit 50 or I think we had 55 episodes a couple months ago.
Ooh.
And we've been bad this month. We have only done 1 or 2 episodes this month, but it's a little over a year now. We started kind of in the 2020 season. My hosts Jane and Steven are old friends I've known for a long time through Twitter.
Yeah.
But we started in the 2020 season. We're coming up, assuming there is a baseball season next year. It'll be our 3rd season covered, and that's super exciting. And so far, so good. We have a fairly active Discord that's really taken on. That we're super glad to see. And it's been a blast.
Ooh, that's so exciting! 3, wow, God. I feel like I've spent so much time on Twitter that it blows my mind how long everyone has been doing things for now. Because I only like got off my ass and started doing things about like 6 weeks ago.
No, totally. And then also remember the years and years of being on Twitter and not really doing anything, just kind of hanging out.
You're just kind of dicking around for like 10 straight years. just like taking the maximum amount of psychological damage every single day for nothing.
Absolutely no benefit.
No, yeah. Not even a little bit.
Purely just the joy and appreciation of posting about our lunches.
That was when Twitter was good. Was when it first came out, and all it was Jack Dorsey posting about his lunch, and nothing else.
People complain about that now, but no, that's the holistic, pure form of Twitter.
I think that we should get back to that because, like, what's the alternative? Posting about politics?
God awful politics.
It's ruined all of our lives.
No, and there's no coming back from it. We're back to lunch posting in 2022.
That I agree. This is it's a lunch posting zone now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, are these the same as the? Okay, these are the same as Bloodborne. What's the one that gives me lots of health? I don't have to think if I pick the one that gives me the most health.
Mm-hmm. Full disclosure, I made it like maybe 8 or 9 hours into Bloodborne before it was like I'm too much of a wuss to backtrack because I'm not very good at this naturally.
That's okay because this is actually just a short vertical slice of the early game, so you probably will recognize everything you see.
Excellent. Okay.
That checks out.
I'm looking at the chat. Greg is online. Lauren is sort of the paragon of normal posting. Thank you. I'm doing my best to be as boring as possible.
I love when you post a food opinion and it makes everybody mad on the internet.
Yeah, it's a fine line to get like the right kind of food opinion where people get mad without blocking you. So people have to be able to like annoy them again later. So it can't be like too far to one side.
Yeah, you can't just be like this city's sandwiches are inherently bad because then you're gonna lose audience. You need to sneak it in.
Exactly. Except Philadelphia, they actually get their rocks off on yelling at you if you see their food is bad. They're the only ones who won't block you. They will fight you forever.
Yeah, that's true. That's what we do.
Which is why I would never disrespect the great chopped cheese.
I love the bit crushed old sounds of these. This is a treat.
I was just thinking how great the PS1 era fire effect is. That's a throwback.
It's so good.
Honestly, it's better than contemporary video game fire.
I'm-
Like, that never looks good either.
No, I agree. I agree. This is always happening to me.
Yeah, I like this is great because like it's less scary. They're more like just little guys.
Just a weird little paper mache guys.
Just dudes giving us a hug.
Oh man, I fucked my guy's proportions up when I made chest a 10 and everything else a 1. That's okay. That's fine. Oh no, it's like a PS1 game. I have to move with the D-pad.
Oh god, no. I'm out. I'm bailing. I'm never gonna even make it that far. No. I do appreciate that it got like the arm slicing animation pretty right. Like that was my favorite thing about Bloodborne was just like that bizarre
the weird karate chop you start with.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. That's good work.
Oh, so this is mapped to control like a PlayStation game controlled before analog sticks existed. My camera's on like the shoulders. Oh, this is weird. This is very strange. Okay, okay. Oh no.
Oh, there's something in the chat about Wawa and the strawberry shake, and I do have to say they have those in DC now. The Wawas.
Yeah.
And those are worth the hype.
They're good. They're good.
Yeah. They deserve the reputation.
Is Sheets down there yet? Yeah. Has Sheets made its way down to you guys yet?
I think there's some in Northern Virginia, but not in DC proper.
Sheets is like a more like a less respectful Wawa. It's just like all fried foods and garbage foods, but otherwise is like the same format. So it's great.
Okay. Excellent. I'm glad that there's like a spectrum, like all the way from, I guess like the far left side would be 7-Eleven. Wawa would be all the way to the far right.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've eaten, yeah.
Sheets is like if you designed a Wawa to only be drunk in it. That's the best way I could think to describe it. Like, it's if you designed a convenience store strictly for like the convenience and appeal of people who are drunk.
I was under the impression that's also what Wawa was. So
Wawa is also kind of that, yeah. But Wawa also has like people get coffee in the morning there. I don't think Sheets is concerned with that. I think Sheets exclusively makes their money on fried cheeses after 10 p.m.
That would be an improvement. DC really only has 7-Eleven, and I really miss better gas station food opportunities. I'm from New Orleans originally, where they have like better fried chicken at the gas stations than they have in most of the rest of the country.
Oh man, I wonder how I lock on if the joysticks don't work. God.
If there's no lock on, I don't like. Would guns even be usable? I never.
I don't know. I have no idea. This came out today. I know as much as you do. Okay, this is the guy you're supposed to die to, so I don't feel bad. That's how the game's supposed to start.
Oh, I saw a question in the chat. Which version of War should MLB use for PR bonus pool? That's a very inside baseball stats question. The answer is neither. They really should not do that. They really should not tie player sal. What they're proposing, ownership is proposing is that players in pre-arbitration should make money based on their stat called WAR, which is like an accumulated summary of all of their contributions to the game. They should not actually incorporate stats invented by reporters into the proper game, because that will make the reporters want to kill themselves.
or make other people want to kill the reporters in addition to that.
Exactly. It's just an incredibly funny and bad idea that I don't know why the ownership is saying they want to do. And they keep picking something called F-War, which is like a very bizarre stat because it uses stats underneath. I told you I was going to talk about baseball stats at some point.
Lay it on. No, I'm here to hear it.
F4 uses a stat called FIP rather than a stat called ERA. And ERA is basically the accumulation of how well a pitcher did.
Earned run average?
Yes, exactly. FIP, by comparison, is field independent pitching, meaning it substitutes out what happened for what more should have happened based on some other factors.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're using that formula, you're ending up paying guys for what they should do instead of what they actually did.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah, kind of a strange way to do that, I would think.
Yeah, it's really the one time you want to actually pay people what they earned rather than what, like, a formula thinks they should have earned based on how hard they were throwing.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, you gotta wonder what the results would be, though, because it would create this, like, hellish sub-game within baseball, where you are, like, not only are you playing baseball, but you are playing a second game where you're trying to maximize your, like, abstract point score that correlates directly to your wage, and which is probably more important to an individual player than the baseball game after a certain point.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, you just have guys trying to throw as hard as they can, regardless of
yeah, why wouldn't you?
Where the ball's going.
Yeah, why would you not just throw as, like, that's an insane metric to judge baseball. How hard you throw the ball?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think it's really serious. I think it's really going to happen. I think it's just like ownership buying time so they can negotiate in bad faith. But
you might as well fucking start paying them based on, like, how tall they are or something at that point. Like, it doesn't fucking mean anything.
That honestly might be a better metric for a lot of pitchers. It would hurt Marcus Stroman a little bit, but he's already got NFTs in his back pocket now, so he'll be fine.
He's got that NFT money.
Yeah, exactly.
They should, pitchers, they should just take an x-ray of your elbows and pay you accordingly.
Don't give them ideas. They will do that.
I shouldn't say that. So let's see if this plays as it did. Okay, and I'm going to be honest, this feels way better than a PS1 game would have actually felt.
Yeah, and the camera's not, like, swinging around 180 degrees every time you turn.
No,
yeah.
It's not, it doesn't make you want to throw up. Like,
that would really make, like, the PS1 experience more accurate. If, like, the camera had no controls, and it was also weirdly running at, like, 20 FPS. This
is actually capped at 20 FPS.
Is it really?
Yes, there are options to make it better, but I chose to leave it on its default, which is to cap itself at 20 FPS.
Good. I respect it. That's true Doom Murderhead gaming.
Sometimes you gotta go with the classics.
Absolutely. I'm fascinated to see if we see the similar development in a couple years to, like, the PS2 aesthetic, and we start seeing games that look like the fighter again.
I'm waiting until we get to the Xbox 360 aesthetic and everything starts to be great. Remember that period where everything was Gears of War, and so it was nothing but, like, extremely buff men going down gray hallways?
Yes, and there's, like, dirt on the screen for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That was peak. That was, like, absolute golden age high school gaming for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was, like, the perfect period to either be, like, a teenage boy or, like, a Gen X guy who's finally gotten everything he's ever wanted.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how'd you start doing batting around? What's the genesis? What's the origin story?
We were really just looking for something to do together, and Jane and Steven, my co-hosts, were looking for a third person, and I was their second or third choice. And
perfect.
Thankfully worked out great, and it's been super fun. It's good because we all bring something kind of different to the table.
Yeah.
Steven brings he's a Philadelphia fan, so he brings a lot of Philadelphia energy. Jane does the actual work of hosting. Yeah, absolutely. And I mostly just look at the statistics and say this guy's going to be good, this guy's going to be bad.
Are you the data guy?
I'm the data guy, yeah. I'm the Nate Silver of the podcast.
Everyone's always saying that about you. They're always like, Lauren's basically Nate Silver.
Yeah, it's great because I step way out of my lane every couple episodes and say something really bizarre about COVID just to freak everyone out.
There's no way Hillary Clinton could win this game. It's just not possible.
No, she's gonna come out throwing heat. She can't lose.
Yeah, someone says, can you be Nate Silver without his awful political punditry?
No, because that's all he is. His baseball analysis was never actually very good. Jokes aside, he was really relying on other smarter people to kind of do a lot of the work there.
Nate Silver has a great job. He could just, like, go into work and not be right about things and get paid for it all the time. That kicks ass. It's like...
That's what we're all trying to do, yeah.
He's like the weatherman of statistics. It's incredible.
We're all just trying to get in a position where we can just, like, spout off hot takes for 7.5 hours a day on CNN for some reason.
Yeah, that's the real final level, is when you get to do essentially the same thing that we all do on Twitter, but they put you on national TV as if the things you have to say are, like, important somehow.
And you get to own, like, a brownstone like Matt Iglesias? Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, Torch 5013 in the podcast. Do I know of Tipping Pitches? Yes. If I can promote my friend's podcast, Tipping Pitches is a great podcast. They actually talk about, like, the politics of the lockout a lot better than we do. They do a lot more research and hard work than we do. Highly recommend. Okay, say who you are official. I was with you when you said fuck the Phillies. You lost me when you said Mets gang. I do not respect Mets.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, don't talk about the Phillies if you're a fucking Mets fan.
No, you picked the one team in the NL East that's more existentially depressing.
Yeah. Mets fan. Get out of here. That's not a real kind of person.
Whatever you say, Jerry Seinfeld.
It's baseball time. That's right. We're going to learn about baseball. I'm learning some. I knew what an earned run average was. I felt really fucking proud of myself. I was like, oh, hell yeah, I know what this is. I know baseball.
That was pretty good. Absolutely, yeah. That's, if you know whip, I'm going to be really impressed.
I don't. What's whip?
That's okay. Whip is, it's a one that basically, why am I blanking on what it actually stands for? God damn it. It's actually like a pretty, straightforward stat, but it's just like it's another pitcher stat that tells you how effectively someone's throwing the ball in terms of hitting the strike zone and not walking people.
Gotcha. And would you say that people should get paid according to that?
More so than they should get paid based on XFIP or FIP. Absolutely. But it's still probably not best. You should really just pay people based on their service time. And younger, before they're like 28 or 29. That's really like the biggest labor dispute right now. Is like in baseball, the first couple years, you really get paid close to minimum league minimum, unless you're like a superstar who gets the team just feels like they need to lock you down long term immediately, which does happen occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
But for most guys, like they're making pretty close to league minimum for the first 2 or 3 years of their career, which it's like $500,000 a year.
I mean, that's, yeah, respectable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a return that a lot of guys never even make getting up through the minors. But when, like, you've spent your whole life getting to that career point, and then you're going to be out of your job by the time you're 34 or 35, not a lot to live on for the rest of your life.
Yeah, totally. I was actually going to ask that, like, how long is a baseball player generally able to play for? Because I know it varies from sport to sport.
Yeah, it varies a lot of sport to sport. It's better than football. I think football is one of the shortest.
Football, yeah, because football is like a fucking meat grinder for human beings. Like,
yeah.
Someday we're gonna look back on football the way that we look back on like blood sports.
Oh yeah. It's gonna go the way of boxing, where like they're just gonna make it so much safer that the appeal is all lost on Americans. But baseball, I think the average career is like 3 or 4 years if they make it to the majors. The guys who really stick around for a long time are pretty rare.
Yeah. Is it like position based? Like, do certain position, like I would imagine pitchers probably go faster because the strain on your joints.
That can definitely end a career pretty quickly, especially like if they tear a ligament in their arm and they have to get like Tommy John surgery. You do that once, you can come back in 12 to 18 months sometimes. You do it twice. Increasingly hard to ever make it to the show again.
Yeah.
But it does happen on occasion. It's a big success story when it works out. But yeah, position does matter. You know, it's a lot harder to last a long time as a catcher because they're the ones who get hit in the head by the ball a lot.
Gotcha.
But,
and that's bad, right?
That is bad.
In the sport, that one's bad.
I don't recommend. Rule of thumb, if you can avoid taking like a 97-mile heater to the head, even if you're wearing a mask.
97 miles an hour?
Oh, yeah.
What's the average professional baseball pitch, speed-wise? Bring me up to, just so I understand what we're working with here.
That's a good question. It's actually gone up every year for a couple of years. Well, it's leveled out a bit in the last couple of years, but over the last 10 or 15 years, it's gone up pretty consistently by like half a mile a year. So it used to be in the 80s and 90s, even into the early zeros, the average fastball was like 89 to 92, and now it's like everybody throws 97, 98, 99, especially if they're a reliever. Like, it's so much harder to stay in Major League Baseball if you can't throw it at like absolute maximum velocity.
So, like, you said it's been rising and rising until recently. Did COVID slow down baseballs?
There's probably a lot of factors. That could be one of them. It could also just be that like the pipeline of talent opened up enough that there were just more people who have the physical capacity to throw that hard, so they're finally making it up to that level. And now it's like there's enough spots in Major League Baseball for pitchers that it kind of leveled out. And it's kind of hitting like the limits of what humans can throw. Like, I think there's 2 or 3 guys now who are theoretically throwing at 103, 104, once or twice 105, but that's like the absolute max. It's like, as far as we know, currently it's physically possible to throw a ball.
Yeah, I feel like the toll on your body would have to be like unspeakable at that point.
Yeah, I don't recommend doing it for fun.
I feel like once you're throwing like 100-mile-an-hour fastball, you're getting into like the kind of territory where somebody like does a thing in a sports anime that kills them. Like,
yeah, at some point your arm just literally explodes.
Yeah, like. Well, all I can imagine is like the baseball. Do you remember? Are you familiar with mixed martial arts at all?
Very vaguely. Not a little bit.
You vaguely might be good enough for this one because I'm not super familiar either. Do you remember when Anderson Silva, who was like a very successful UFC fighter, threw a kick at a guy's leg and his leg finally gave out and it wrapped around the other guy's leg like it was made of taffy? Yeah. All I can imagine is like it's like you're just like the baseball equivalent of that. Like you throw the ball and your arm comes off at the elbow and goes with it.
There have been some injuries that look a lot like that.
Oh no.
Also, it's actually very funny. If you ever like really think about and look at like or you go through like a photographer's pictures of someone throwing on a baseball mound.
Yeah.
9 out of 100 of the pictures of like the actual like throwing motion are look insane. Like, it's just like the human body should not do that. Every single one of them is just like watching like the monster from The Thing transform into a different creature.
I feel like for most American sports viewers, though, we've gotten to the point where that's like what the American sports viewer wants. We went to see like like flesh horrors beyond our own imagination, kind of, body decisions.
Yeah,
for lack of a better term.
Just saves like Akira, flesh monster explosion. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I feel like that's like what like the average American now kind of just thinks that's like normal.
That's athleticism. That's what that is.
Yeah. It's precisely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Kudai Sung shout out in the chat. All-time great baseball story, Kudai Sung. Look that up on YouTube.
What is that?
He was a relief pitcher. He was a pitcher in Japan and Korea for a long time. He came over to the U.S. For just a couple years, 1 or 2 years, as a relief pitcher in his 30s. And I don't want to give away the whole story. I highly recommend looking at the John Boyce video about this called Pretty Good. Kudai Sunk. Very funny story about the time that he basically blew up the spot of the greatest pitcher I have personally ever seen, Randy Johnson, Hall of Famer Randy Johnson, as like a journeyman reliever wearing a starter jacket on second base. Wonderful.
Oh, I love it. So do you baseball yourself?
I do softball. I aggressively play softball.
Oh, the gay baseball. Perfect.
Yes. I'm in the gay softball league in DC. Shout out DC Cap. And in the off season, I'm actually playing in a winter league for the first time, which I don't think I would recommend to people who aren't like very desperate for social interaction on the weekends.
I mean, I was going to say, do you play outside?
Yes, we're playing on the National Mall in like 25-degree weather.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you're super fun.
Very brave of you. Good god, yeah. I can't imagine.
No, that first week when I didn't really have adequate gloves, I just came home and just like ran my hands under hot water for like 15 minutes.
Oh, you did that without gloves?
I had like really crappy gloves. I'm not from DC. I'm not really from a cold part of the country at all, so I never have appropriate like winter wear.
Yeah.
My hands were just like absolutely freezing.
You're DC based now though, right?
Yes, I've lived here for now three-ish years now.
You've lived here for 3 years and you don't have gloves yet?
Well, it wasn't really
so
that
concerned.
cold in 2019, and then I didn't go outside in winter 2020.
Yeah, I guess you didn't really fucking do anything last year.
So I finally have something decent. It took way longer than it should have.
It's understandable. I had that realization recently about COVID. I had saw some posts going around the timeline about that show Euphoria that everyone's always watching teens be teens at each other or whatever it's about. But there's some two pictures that I was like, how does this happen in one night? And it's like one of a woman dressed up all night and then one of her like very like crying and looking at a mess. And I was kind of like, this is like what every night is like in your 20s. But then I realized that the target audience for that show doesn't know that because they haven't been able to go do that because COVID happened. I was like, no.
Yeah, absolutely.
No wonder you guys are online asking how this happens. You haven't had a chance to go to a freshman era college party and ruin your own life.
No, I think the much more accurate version of that show would be like a bunch of teenagers watching Hitman 2 speedruns on Twitch. Which would actually be very entertaining. I would personally be willing to watch that.
Yeah, I would watch that too, absolutely.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say someone's asking if you like baseball.
Oh yeah, there were a couple questions in the chat I was looking at. Randy Johnson is the one who obliterated a bird in spring training.
What?
He's actually very. Oh yeah. No, Randy Johnson is like a very high heat pitcher. He was throwing the ball like 94 on an off speed pitch, 97, 98 at least on his top level pitches, and it's this weird freak accident coincidence that in a minor league game, he was pitching. He was actually doing a warm up pitch. And a pigeon ducked in the way of the strike zone, and it was just obliterated. It just became like a puff of feathers.
It's like the equivalent of getting hit by a train for a human being.
Pretty much, yeah. Like just like instant obliteration. They could not find a body, and they looked for the grounds crew looked for a while. And it's like this
vaporized him.
And it's this weird like legendary baseball story, but if you actually talk to him about it, he won't talk about it. He's so sensitive about it still. Like he doesn't think it's entertaining at all. He doesn't do interviews about it.
He feels like, really bad about it?
He feels terrible, yeah. It's been like 30 years now.
That's kind of sweet, actually. Like.
Oh yeah. No, Randy Johnson, the big unit, is a legendary player with a heart of gold.
Yeah, because I feel like most guys, if you annihilated a bird with the world's most powerful pitch, or even just me, Look, I probably would think that was pretty cool, even though it's not right to.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's a big dick move. There's no way around it.
Like, you have to admit at some point that it is pretty swagged out, even if it's wrong.
Yeah,
my 2022 resolution is to admit when things are swagged out, even when they're morally wrong.
That's a good one. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
It's a good way to get canceled, but I totally support it until that happens. In which case, I don't know you.
Yeah, you can know me conveniently as long as you need to, until we all have to quietly unfollow me over the course of the months. When it becomes clear that
apology. Yeah.
When it becomes clear that I'm never gonna log back in, but if I did, I would get canceled.
Now that's when you break out the cold hard soft block. Yep. we all know our pain.
Why no, I don't know that guy.
Oh.
We've all had to do that one about a half dozen times, but that's fine.
Oh yeah, Pyromance does make the point that Randy Johnson will not talk about the bird in interviews. He does seem very sensitive about it, but he has a photography company. He's a photographer now, and his logo is for his photography company is actually the bird exploding. So I don't know. Maybe he's changed his opinions over the years.
For my trauma with the logo.
Trauma. Everybody processes it different. You know, what are you gonna do? You just got to take people where they are.
That's so true.
Oh, Xana Internet asks if you have heard of Doc Ellis pitching a no-hitter while on LSD.
I have heard this. That's the same day he said that people don't think it'd be like that, but it do, right? Was that him?
Good question. That I'm not actually sure. It's been a while since I watched the documentary about that. It's not a terrible documentary.
I think something like that was the quote he gave afterward.
It's a very Doc Ellis quote. He was a very odd guy even outside of the LSD thing. I think he was I think he fought the Philadelphia Fanatic at some point. He was very rambunctious guy.
He fought the Philly Fanatic, like the mascot costume.
Yeah, but in fairness, there's a half dozen. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Philly Fanatic, I think, is the most punched mascot probably in sports history.
You know what? That sounds like Philadelphia.
Yeah, he's got it coming. He's a smart ass.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Philadelphia sports team mascot after all. No one's ever claimed that we know how to act right here. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, somebody jackknifed a trash truck on purpose at Broad and Snyder and shut down 2 of the major arteries in South Philly completely, so that people could flood the streets and start climbing telephone poles and stuff.
That's right.
They didn't even wait for the game to be over. They did it 10 minutes into the last fucking quarter.
There's a lot to be said for a city that will riot if the team loses and riot even harder if the team wins.
Yeah. And, they were starting rioting before the game was over. They knew either way there was going to be rioting, so, we might as well get a jump on it.
Absolutely, yeah. Just burn it to the ground. That's why it's, the only interesting city left on the East Coast.
It's true. What, is DC not riveting?
No. DC does get kind of underrated because it's not all hill people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not as close to Philadelphia, that's for sure. Oh, one thing I do think is funny that they should have done with this game that they didn't is the load time should be at least 3 times as long.
Make them really long.
Yeah, and a loading bar that goes 90% of the way and then stays there for 6.5 minutes.
Oh, Hell Dude, this is the Bloodborne PlayStation remake.
Hello, Hell Dude. How are you? PC see as a nice tourist stop, but for more than just the cherry blossoms in the Smithsonian. There's also a very cool bonsai tree museum.
There's a bunch of museums in DSA. I used to, when I was in college, whenever there was like the Cherry Blossom Festival thing, I would hitch a ride with like the Weeaboo Club, and then just like go off and do my own thing while they went to that. Although I have to say, that actually kind of looked sick too. In retrospect, I probably would have enjoyed that too, but I hadn't reached the point in my life where I had like fully embraced like being openly cringe, so I was like, I'm not gonna go to the Cherry Blossom Festival. But there are a lot of really nice museums in DSA.
There are, and they're all free, which is great. The one museum here that wasn't free shut down, which is a little bit of a bummer because it is the one that had the Unabomber's cabin in it, the museum.
No!
But Unabomber cabin is back on its way to the FBI facility where it was born. Yeah,
that's a bummer. Yeah, where are you gonna do your tweets from now?
It's true. I'm actually kicked out of House and Home. I was paying $2,400 a month for a single. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal for like, you know, for like a scenic, a famous, like, you know, it's like living in the Grand Lorraine, but like even better.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you're paying for the character. You're paying for the high ceilings and the neighborhood. Their neighborhood where you're in like a warehouse with all the other Unabomber cabins, all the other Unabombers that the government wasn't able to get off the ground. Somehow still a neighborhood less filled with psychos and freaks than the Hill. Yeah.
Hello, good hunter. I am a doe, here in this dream to look after you, honorable hunter. Pursue the echoes of blood.
Oh, question in the chat. This one always comes up. Was baseball better when everyone was juicing? I'm going to say controversially, no.
Interesting. I feel like everyone says yes usually.
Stand close.
I think people, because they're not watching contemporary baseball, think like the baseball at the time was like the dinger friendliest version of the sport, but we actually have more home runs right now than any time in the past, including back then. So like the actual, like the long ball game is still very much there, but the benefit is that we don't have like teenagers shooting up who will never make it to the show and ruining their lives at age 12.
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
It's the down or boring answer because everyone likes the big boys, but
yeah, naturally it makes sense.
Yeah, who didn't appreciate Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa having skulls the size of like a watermelon?
I was about to say the classic era of Mark McGwire. Like I remember as a child, Mark McGwire, and seeing him and being like, this guy has invented entirely new muscles in the human body. This guy, he's built like an Attack on Titan monster. He's just like, there's muscles in places there's not supposed to be. It was incredible.
Yeah, it's true. Him and Barry Bonds were like peak physical specimens for several years there. Yeah. And it's funny now, I think Barry Bonds is the only one who's still even remotely like that. But he was always just like an incredibly athletically gifted. So it's less of a surprise there. I think Mark McGwire has taken on the dad bod pretty well in his later years.
Yeah, well, you know, he earned it. But the amount of performance-enhancing drugs that once flowed through his body, he earned just to, like, not do anything with his body, frankly. He deserves to just get fat. I think that he earned it. Like, I think that's not like an insult. I think that's a reward based on what he had to go through physically to become, like, the baseball-hitting monster that he was.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, once you break the home run record and go on The Simpsons, it's like, you can check out and phone it in for the rest of your day. That's perfectly fine.
Exactly, yeah. Like, he should just spend the rest of his life, like literally actively trying to get as fat as possible. Like, why not?
Nah, he's got all the McDonald's sponsorships still, why not?
Yeah, exactly. He should do a thing that, like a reverse Subway Jared thing. Where he's like, look how good shape I was in, but now, with the help of McDonald's, I'm so much rounder. And I think that would be, you know, I think that would be really nice.
It'd be good too, yeah. It'd be the reverse. That like patient gets better over time as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'd be good for him. We should pitch that idea to him. He'd probably be into it. It's a funny contrast too with Barry Bonds, who's still like very physically involved, but he's become a Strava bicyclist person, where like he just posts like the hundreds of miles of riding he does on his bike every day to the biking app Strava.
Yeah.
He is still somehow in his probably early 60s, like in so much better shape than any normal human being is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when you're that kind of guy, it's like hard to stop being that guy. Like your retirement plan is you just become like an old, like, you know, like when old guys are ripped and they like don't look particularly large, but then you like, if you touch their body in any way, it's like touching like some kind of weird wiry cyborg. Like it's just like a thin skin stretched over like a hard core, and he's got like a resting heart rate of 1. Like, I feel like that's like pretty much, that's like the perfect end game there.
Oh yeah. It's that or like being incredibly good at or involved with golf. Those are the two like long-term athlete outcomes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
Let's see, going through the chat here. Yes, Perry Maguire, Bonds. There's really no defensible case for Bonds not being in the Hall of Fame if a couple other guys are in there. That's absolutely true.
Sammy Sosa accidentally bleached his skin and is now weirdly pale. Is that true?
That is also very unfortunate. It's actually a very sad story.
Really? I didn't realize it was an accident.
Well, it's kind of hard to say because I think there's a lot of evidence that like there's some mental health issues involved. So yeah, and like he also has a very contentious relationship still with the Cubs, who he played for and was kind of the superstar for, where like they don't invite him to games. It's really kind of a bummer.
That is a
basically
bummer.
Cost him, like on the merits of his stats, he's probably a borderline Hall of Famer, and he never really got a chance. I think because people think he's kind of weird, which is unfortunate.
I think that you should be able to be a weird little guy and also be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely, there's tons of weird guys in there. It's interesting weird guys from the 20s who just like stole 100 bases a season.
Good God. Was that like, did they just invent stealing bases back then? Was that why you were able to get some?
There's a lot of reasons. I think a big one is like people just, I mean, the game changes constantly. Every 10 years, it's a totally different game from what it was before. But it used to be a lot more like based on like slap hitting and getting the ball around and going around the bases. It was really like only Babe Ruth when they were suddenly like, we could just hit it out of the park and not worry about all that stuff.
It was more about the fundamentals.
Exactly, yeah. The lunch pail 9 to 5 guys were the archetypes there.
Yeah.
Except for the ones who weren't like professional athletes and were just like weird drunk. There were a lot of those too.
Was that a genre of baseball guy for a while?
Oh God, like 80 or 90 years.
God, let's fucking bring that back. That whips ass.
Yeah, there's a lot of baseball players who clearly got their start just because like they were there when the game was starting and someone was like, well, do you want to play? And now, they did that for 20 years and are Hall of Famers forever now. Yeah.
Oh, that rules. To become like a professional baseball jobber and then somehow like rise through the ranks to become respected. I think that whips ass.
Absolutely, yeah. Lesnell, please, makes a good point in the chat that there's actually, I've not been to one, but there's like historical reenactors for old-timey baseball now, where they like wear like the 1880s uniforms and stuff and like sit in the old-timey stands. And you're absolutely correct. Those guys should be drunk 24/7.
Yeah, for like authenticity.
Yes, exactly. If they're playing sober, or at least like not on some kind of like weird monkey ball injection, it's not historically accurate.
Yeah, I was gonna say they should sell the Coca-Cola with real cocaine in it in the stands, and everyone should be drunk, and
And a player should come off the field at least once a game to fight someone in the stands. Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Well, it's like, 1880s. Like, back then you could go to the doctor and be like, I'm depressed. And they'd be like, well, there's a demon in your brain. Anyway, here's heroin. Bye. Like, it was just such a cooler era. You have to bring that to the game again.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, people should be going blind on the field from alcohol poisoning.
Yes.
That's what we've lost in the national pastime.
God, we need to return to tradition. That's what people mean when they say that, I think, on the internet, right? That's what that's about?
Yeah, like brain damage from alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say it, yeah.
Okay, good. Me too. There was less time when Babe Ruth was sober rather than drunk.
That's also probably true. Yeah. Oh, that actually reminds me of the funny like baseball controversy of this week. And this is all like Twitter stuff.
Lay it on
There's
me.
nothing going on in baseball. Ben Verlander, who's the son of Justin Verlander, a very good pitcher, is trying to kind of make it as a baseball journalist.
Okay.
And he had this weird argument he got in about like the character clause of the Hall of Fame thing, whether people should be added if they have like are of weaker moral character. It is a legitimate argument people have all the time. Yes. He was like, well, we let Babe Ruth in even though he killed his wife in a fire.
Wait, what?
It's not actually probably it would be defamatory if Babe Ruth was still alive. He's not. But Babe Ruth's first wife did actually die in a very tragic house fire. It was like it's a well-known thing for a long time. And he just came out on Twitter like, well,
which Babe Ruth did on purpose.
Yeah, it was like totally this weird speculative thing that somehow he did not get horribly canceled for. But
God.
Yeah, it was a great hot take.
That's a hell of a take.
Yeah.
One of the best parts of Twitter is when you get to log on and you see someone say something that you're just like, well, I cannot believe you said that in public to other people. And then you realize that they don't know that they're in public.
Yeah, to his professional peers.
Yeah, it's like him saying it, it's like posting it in like the fucking work Slack. Jesus Christ.
Absolutely, yeah. Baseball really only has like Twitter for work Slack.
There's no baseball Slack where everyone who plays baseball is in the same Slack together or something? I kind of assumed that all sports journalists did like a Three Stooges thing and slept in like a big bed with matching nightcaps and stuff.
That part's true, yeah. The athletic, that's like their living situation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The baseball players themselves, I think, are more, I think most athletes are just like texting guys. They just text their friends.
Gotcha.
I don't think that a lot of them are into they're all on Twitch. They don't necessarily into the Slack or the team.
That's next. That you have to bring it to the game. After you bring back day drinking to the game, which is we have to prioritize. First, like priority number 1, bring back day drinking to the game. Priority number 2, I think you need to put everyone in extremely high drama internet groups together where they are forced to interact with each other even though it's a bad idea, just like everyone else.
We're going to take it a step further and actually just like Real Housewives it and do like everybody on the Tampa Bay Rays lives in one big house together.
Oh, that rules. I was thinking just today about how there's like 7 different congressmen who live in like a shitty frat house together in DC. And how that format really could work for a lot of other things. If your main priority is comedy and not like quality of life.
Absolutely, yeah. That house also like very famously, I think it was Chuck Schumer who organized it, and it's like famously like a total dump.
It's like sucks. It's filthy. It looks like a frat house or something.
Yeah, you can see why Joe Manchin would rather live on his houseboat than in there.
Yeah, you can't really blame. But that's the thing that gets me about it is because it's like, man, you guys like, not only like could you guys clean this, but like you guys could fucking hire someone to clean. You know, like you're rich. Like,
yeah, they make the money.
It's pure decision to like purely deciding to be like, I think maybe the best way to live is a way that sucks.
Yeah, they can opt out, unlike the baseball players who have to do this, who actually don't make any money when they're in the minor leaguers and do end up living like 4 guys to a hotel room. Yeah.
Oh, God, really?
Oh, yeah, it's really bad. If we're just doing all the litany of baseball crimes, the pay that minor leaguers make is by far the biggest one.
Oh, really? Is this like similar to like the college football thing where it's like they obviously should be getting paid more?
It's probably worse because the college football players, at least, they do actually get an education. They do actually get like sponsorship deals now.
Yeah.
A lot of minor league baseball players are making literally like $1,500 per season, and are considered like contract workers.
$1,500?
Yeah, for like 3 months of play. That's like the lowest level ball. I think AA, AAA is a bit more, but It's like way below minimum wage. There's like an
Yeah,
special
dude, that
exemption in
1,500.
Congress can do this.
My
Yeah.
brain automatically parks that as 15,000 because it just like 1,500
Oh.
didn't make any sense.
No, let me pull up the MLB or the minor league pay structure. And it's gotten a little bit better in recent years. Not a lot. Teams are kind of embarrassed, I think, by how much attention this has gotten in recent years. Let me see here. Yeah, weekly pay for a rookie ball is $290 to $400 a week. By the time you get to AAA, it's $450 to $700 a week.
Welcome.
For the 4 or 5 months a year where you're playing baseball. You don't get paid in the off season.
Wow. So is it?
Yeah.
It's just like a big. It's just like a big gambling structure where you like get paid terribly in hopes that like maybe you'll get paid good if you go up to the major leagues.
Quite literally, yeah. A lot of them also are like immigrants from countries where they come over here not speaking English and spend years in the minors trying to scrape by and then never get a big paycheck in the end. It's not good.
It sounds not good, frankly.
It's pretty grim. I don't recommend being a minor league baseball player if you can avoid it. Or if you can, at least be drafted in the first round so you get like a decent check out of it. The guys who are in the later rounds get basically nothing.
Oh wait, so if you're drafted the first line of the minor leagues, you still get. So there are people in the minor leagues getting paid well, just like a half dozen or something. Like how does this?
Yeah, I think like the first 30, like the first round picks, I think go in value from like a couple million to like $1.5 million for the 30th pick, and that's like more than enough for a young guy to live off for 4 or 5 years to get to the majors. Usually, it's really everybody below them who just gets screwed really quick.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, and John Brown's buddy points out that these numbers are basically doubled from recent years.
Oh, so that's interesting. It's cool that, like, the more I learn about different industries, the more I learn that, like, literally everyone is just trapped in the same hell. That's cool.
Yeah.
In a way that's perversely comforting, I suppose.
It's true. Yeah. There's any job that you would want to do. There's horrific exploitation, which is why I work in marketing.
There you go. See, that's a good gig.
I can't complain. Yeah, it's not fulfilling in any way, but I can afford a studio, so I'm going to keep doing it until I die.
Yeah, I mean, I went to business school for a little while. I was a marketing major, and the main thing I seem to learn is that most marketing people just kind of wing it. Is this accurate?
Yeah, no, my specialty in marketing too is digital media and SEO, so it is 100% winging it.
Yeah, my marketing class was always basically guys being like, yeah, so we did this and it worked really good, but also it could just not work at all. Anyway, and then that was like I was like, what do you fucking mean?
Yeah, no, SEO especially is like pure crystal ball reading, like hoping that Google doesn't change their formula entirely and screw everything you thought you knew. Yeah, 100%.
SEO optimization is just where you put all the words, right?
Pretty much. You want to make sure you're using the right words. That's the key part. You don't want to use any of the words. You just want the ones that are the good words that Google will like.
What are the bad words that Google doesn't like?
Swears.
Gotcha.
Anything that seems like spam.
Mm-hmm.
Those are frowned on.
Okay.
Let me see here. I won't get too much into the actual details of SEO optimization or marketing, but I will answer OSC's question from the chat. How can I get into marketing? How can I trick these people? Become good at posting.
Oh yeah, totally.
Posting, you can get a marketing job. Yeah.
Having like 20K followers on Twitter is roughly a marketing degree at this point.
Pretty much.
People will just like let you do marketing for them if you have a large online following.
Yeah, you don't necessarily get to tell them about the following because then they'll fire you if they know how much time you spend on Twitter. But it does help you kind of understand what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Which is a fucked up and weird perverse incentive structure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recommend it, but it's better than having like an actual job where you do work.
Yeah, That's the bottom of the totem pole, is real job where you do real things. And then everyone online, we get online and we all try to find a way to have a bullshit job that's not real. Which is why I'm here, and it's going great.
I was going to say, I think streaming is a much more real job than like anything involving what I do, any kind of like marketing opportunity. Like you keep more regular hours, you have to like actually play a video game, which is hard sometimes. I make spreadsheets. I design buttons. None of this is remotely as hard as anything involving Bloodborne.
You design buttons, did you say?
Oh yeah, I make a big part of my job is making buttons. I do like some of the website stuff at the firm, and a lot of that is like button design.
So you do some like UI stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
okay.
Sometimes the text has to be under the button. Sometimes the text is on the button. Sometimes the button is a square. Sometimes it's a rectangle, and it's like that's big, high level decision making. That takes a lot of time and effort to. That's like my 40-hour work week right there is like 2 buttons.
All right. Well, if you're designing things for websites like that, are you a sketch head or a Figma cook?
Oh, I have no idea what that means.
Oh no, is there a third one? Those are just like the two most common like web development, app development programs.
Oh, we use specialized software for law firms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then everything on our internet is software from 2013 that Microsoft no longer supports that I get to adapt. It's wonderful.
Oh, perfect. Isn't it great when that happens?
Oh yeah, when I need to like mediate every single thing, IT guy who's been there for 20 years. It's wonderful.
That's always my favorite part. Is like the part where nothing works. That's probably my favorite part about working with computers, which is a thing I did not do at all before I did this. And I was like, so things just stop working for seemingly no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And start. And I was like, okay, that's fun. And you know what? It's a treat.
Oh, totally. And think of how many like great things we wouldn't have without it. Like, speedrunning wouldn't really exist if computers just worked normally.
Exactly.
Like all the good Hitman runs are just like pixel peeking. That we have to appreciate that kind of weirdness. In the business world, it's all just like, well, this picture didn't load right, so now nothing on this other page works at all. That's like way more boring than like any of the stuff that video game funkiness gives us.
Yeah. So are you? I'm getting a hint that you're perhaps some sort of big Hitman speedrun head here.
That's been my thing recently. I'm not like a huge gamer anymore, but for some reason the Hitman speedruns hit like that perfect note of just like zoning out for a 2.5-hour video.
No, it makes sense.
Some other speedruns too, yeah. But Hitman especially is just like perfect.
There's a special like gland in the brain of the transsexual that makes it so that when you see a speed run, it releases dopamine. So I understand.
Absolutely. If they ever did like I guess there's probably our new Vegas speedruns, and I should check those out because that would just be like MDMA in video game form. Yeah.
There's a really good Dark Souls 2 one I really enjoy because you figure Dark Souls 2 is like when I played it properly. It was about a 200-hour game. That's a long time. I took a long time grinding, but it's probably, most people probably put like 100 hours into it if you're going to do everything. The world record speedrun is 14 minutes. It's it is a treat.
That's shaving off a little bit. That's a bit of a time saver.
Yeah, well, somebody figured out in the launch version of the game, if you parry someone and then, like, in Dark Souls 2, when you parry someone, they don't just, like, go back. They fall on the ground, and then you do the parry, like, the finishing animation while they fall down. But somebody found that if you knock someone down with that and then roll over them, it, like, unmoors you from the game's sense of where the ground is, causing every single surface in the game to count as ground. And so you do that, and then you just walk directly outside of the world, like, through a bunch of developer doors to the last boss. It fucking rules.
Perfect.
That's, to me, the ideal.
Absolutely. That's like all of the, like, what you're looking for in a speed run. It's like the geometric wonkiness, the, like, individual pixel perfection, NPCs and monsters doing wacky things. That hits all the high points.
Yes, all the most important stuff you need from that experience. My favorite speedrun is the Jedi Knight games, where your dead body counts as an object in the game world, so you can kill yourself and launch your body across the level, and it still counts as beating the level when it lands at the end point. Oh, that kicks ass. I love that.
That's like 2002, 2003 era like FPS logic. That's wonderful.
Yeah, that kicks ass. God, what a treat.
That's just golf.
That's just... For more or less. God. See, that's what it's all about. It's just making things work wrong.
Totally, yeah. If you're actually playing the game as intended, like it's just gonna be boring.
Why bother, right?
At the very least, they should be like de-resing that until a PS1 era game.
Yeah, see, that's the ideal. Because the PS1 was just like such a fucking janky like piece of hardware, and like it breaks in so many spectacular ways. Why would you not just load everything into it? Or like the Sega Dreamcast is a good one for that too. The Sega Dreamcast is really funny because they didn't realize that like you could just like burn things to CDs when they made it. So there's no copy protection on anything, and you can like literally like put a Sega Dreamcast game into like your PC and just like burn a new copy of it like it's a fucking CD from like 1999. It's like a big part of why this fucking console failed is like one, like, you know, everyone bought it and then one person bought the game and then everyone just copied it.
Did you have a Dreamcast? Did you own one?
I have one now. A fan of the stream was very generous and gave me one.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, I missed the era, unfortunately. But I always wanted one when I was young. When I was small.
Yeah. I was a little bit too young to actually like own. My parents weren't okay with me having a console just yet. But yeah. I did get to rent it once from Blockbuster, because Blockbuster did console rental.
Oh, I remember this era. Yes.
Yeah. That week, that like 4 or 5 days of getting to play Crazy Taxi was life changing. Yeah.
And it's how you became a taxi driver.
Exactly. Yeah. To this day. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So what have you got coming up, Lauren? Anything special coming up with the podcast or anything else? Anything you would like to plug while there's like a bunch of people here and they're forced to listen to us?
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I don't really stream. My co-host Jane does stream from time to time. I think we're probably going to try to do some more streams in the future. We've done one in the past where we watched we watched old baseball movies, and I think we want to do those at some point soon. And we are going to record an episode this week. Should be out next week, I think, of because we're going to keep going through different kind of movies and entertainment. And we're hoping to hit like the big ones, the Deep Space Nine baseball episode, some softball episode. Next week, I think I can say we're going to do the Seinfeld and Cheers baseball episodes.
There's a Seinfeld baseball episode?
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Frasier and Cheers.
I was like racking my brain. I was like,
although there are like Seinfeld, there's a lot of baseball references in Seinfeld because George works for the Steinbrenners for a while.
Yeah. The picture of George with the bat that's so infamous is during that period.
Yeah, but no, we're unfortunately watching the strictly inferior shows from Cheers and Frasier.
That's okay. They can't all be Seinfeld.
No, sadly not.
There's not enough teenagers for all those guys.
No. There is more baseball in Cheers than I remember, though. I watched a couple episodes, and that whole show is basically about how depressing it was to be a Red Sox fan before 2004.
Or like, what was that fucking movie? That like stupid Red Sox rom-com where they had to rewrite the entire third act because it was entirely written around how awful it was to be a Red Sox fan, and then like suddenly they won. And they had to, like, scrap the, like, back half of the movie.
Yes, Fever Pitch with Jimmy Fallon.
That's it. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, man. that was in some ways that was a terrible era for movies. In some ways, it was a great era for Red Sox fans because they spent the rest of the decade being really good, and now they're annoying. They're no longer the lovable losers. The same thing happened to the Cubs in 2016. So I kind of hate both those teams now.
Here's the lovable losers now.
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably the Pirates. I think they're probably like the saddest franchise at this point. Maybe the Rockies. They're both pretty grim. But at this point, there's like enough like smart people running baseball teams that you don't really see too much like rank incompetence anymore.
No,
that's bad and good.
I was about to say, would you consider that good or kind of a shame?
It's definitely good in some ways. It's a shame in some other ways, just because you don't really get to see like dumb guy stuff anymore. And when sports lose that kind of like dumb guy top level management, there is something lost. Thankfully, we do still have football.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like dumb guys in the sporting world are not really a dying breed. They've just moved to different sports.
Precisely, yeah. Once the NBA's move in and start running teams, all the dumb guys have to go to the next step down.
Exactly.
Thank God for hockey and football.
Hockey is like the ideal dumb guy sport. It's like a sport that strictly exists as like an excuse for a separate sport with no rules where guys punch each other. That's fucking great.
It's the last sport where it's okay as an American or Canadian to have bad teeth, and that's what I really love about it.
I feel like it has to be okay because you're like launching a fucking puck around at the speed that you are.
Oh yeah, no, it's so absurdly fast. Like there's no way you can avoid it. No, that's one that like it's so much fun in person, but then like trying to watch it on TV, my eyes can't keep up with it because it's just like. I
thought this was maybe that like I had like my weak effeminate fag brain like couldn't process the images I was seeing, because I always felt that way about hockey. It was just like I don't know what's going on. Baseball is very easy. Baseball, you like it's very organized. It's very it's very structured. Hockey, I'm like, all right. First of all, I can't, every single one of these guys is like a Canadian, at least ethnically Canadian white guy. So it's not like I can look at the players and tell them apart. And the pace it moves at is just incredible.
Is absurd. Yeah. No, I don't think you're alone at all there. It's so much harder to follow on TV. In person, it's a little easier because you can see the whole thing at once.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Also, like, it's just, like, indistinguishable, you're right, like, either gigantic Canadian or Russian, sometimes Icelandic men who are all terrifyingly huge and burly, and also, like, the most athletically gifted people you've ever seen. Yeah, absolutely bizarre.
When you put it that way, it sounds pretty good.
Oh, yeah, no, if you can go to a Flyers game, by all means.
God, I haven't been to a Flyers game since I was a kid. That actually sounds rather nice. How much could the tickets be? $3?
Everyone should make it a point now that if things open up and we don't get another scare, to go out and try sports again. Play them yourself. Go to some games. Take them in. It's a good time. Video games are fun in real life too.
Yeah, it's true. It turns out you can actually play games in your real life with other people. Yes.
You should still focus all of your time in the evenings on streaming. You should still go and watch your favorite streamers. But outside of those hours, you can go play sports yourself as well.
You can go do sports, exactly. Mm-hmm. It's the ultimate workout for body and mind at that point.
Ooh, good question in the chat about Yakuza 5 and the baseball player in that. I have not played that Yakuza. Have you played the Yakuza games?
I have, but I do not know very well, but I know, who is it? Akiyama is the baseball player? Person in the chat, shout out the name of the baseball player from Yakuza. I'm blanking on it. But
yeah, I'm not sure either. I've only played a couple of them, but I do love that like those games actually have like a really solid little baseball mini game in them. Like Yakuza 0 has like a really good little like batting cage game. It's actually like way better mechanically than it has any right to be for like a mini game and a kind of an odd little low budget game.
They put so much time and effort into their stupid mini games in these games. It's really incredible.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
games have such good vibes. Yeah, because it's just like it's mini games, then it's just like eating all of the different kinds of sushi in the restaurant.
Yeah, which is perfect.
Yeah, I don't do like the missions or the story. I just walk around and try out all the different kinds of like katsu. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, there's a very nice guys being dudes element to Yakuza I really enjoy. I actually think that was the original Just Guys Being Dudes. What's better than that? I think was actually filmed at the Phillies, not Phillies, the Eagles Stadium. You can see it in the background.
Oh yeah.
You can see over the shoulder of that guy who is like equally sized in like height and width. It's just like just the inkling of the Eagles logo. I was like, you know what, that makes perfect sense.
Wow, it's the guys. It's not a city of brotherly love. It's a city of guys being dudes.
It's exactly what it is.
Okay, there's the answer in the chat. Shinada has the subquest line about batting cages and teaching different hits and what skills you need, like actually using foul balls to your advantage. Which is like actually a fascinating difference between the American baseball game and the Japanese baseball game.
What is?
They put a lot more emphasis on like bat control, hitting the ball, placing it in different places.
Well, what is it?
Really? And what do we do? Just kind of hit it willy-nilly?
Pretty much. And there's some different reasons for that. Like it's just a lot harder to have bat control because the ball is so much faster in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's just like it's more of a power game here, where like there's less to be gained from hitting it into opposite field than it is hitting a home run.
Mm-hmm.
But like they actually do some really cool stuff. Like they have the home run derby like we do. Home run derby is like the big middle of the season thing that we do. But they also have a very similar one where they have like targets up in the outfield, and players are rewarded for hitting to very specific parts of the field, which is really fun to watch if you get the chance. We don't do anything like it here because like we don't emphasize bat control like that. But
no, that's
big
very
and fun.
cool though.
Yeah, it's super fun. Yeah, I'd love to see our game get a little like that.
Like a little more finesse centric.
Yeah, and like a little more grace and a little more emphasis on defensive skills than we currently have, and also it'd be really cool if we did all the cheering in the stands that they do. Like they're on their feet pretty much the whole game, chanting and doing cheers.
Damn.
Yeah, we do none of that.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
I do like the idea that get up, do some cheering, get down. Maybe it should be like Catholic Church.
Exactly. Yeah, but like fun and a little game. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think you say that baseball could bear to be a little gayer.
Baseball could definitely stand to be a little bit gayer. Although baseball does get some credit for one of its few gay players historically co-inventing the high five. So we'll take that win.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Let me make sure I'm getting the exact story right. Yeah, Dusty Baker and Glenn Burke, when they were on the Los Angeles Dodgers, invented the high five. I don't think people realize the high five is not from like 200 years ago. It was invented in 1977.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, the high five was invented
in 77?
Yeah, by one player who is still active as a manager and one player who is now passed on. Yes.
That's okay. That is actually blowing my mind. I would have thought at least like early 1900s. Fuck it. What the fuck?
It's true. You kind of think that gesture goes back to like some kind of like vaudeville routine or something.
You would think, yeah.
Yeah, at the very least, if not like thousands and thousands of years ago. But no, the traditional start date is Dusty Baker and Glenn Burke hanging out in the dugout in Los Angeles, California, 1978.
That's crazy. Yeah, I like exactly what you said. I was like, I would have assumed that would have been like an offshoot of something that we have been doing for 1,000 years.
And maybe in fairness it had. Maybe like the Mayans invented it and rediscovered it. That
Yeah,
could be
that's
one of those
possible.
things.
But
Yeah.
at least like in modern parlance, the fact that it
Mhm.
like it's blowing my mind. I'm thinking about how my dad is older than the high five.
Oh yeah, that's a terrifying realization. Yeah.
Like that's so fucked up to think about. How
I
is
think
that
it's probably like
possible?
I think it's probably like when the Greeks invented that steam engine, but they didn't really know what to do with it. Like people would do it on occasion historically, but not really realize what it meant.
Yeah.
And it was really only until the American context where people were like, "Hey, this is cool. This is showing our friendship in a way that's a little gay, but not too gay for live sports." Uh,
Where's the line?
but yeah, as John Brown's buddy points out, to the original point, Burke was the first actively gay player to come out to his teammates.
Really?
He was closeted to the public. It was still a dark time, but yeah, one of the great historical gay baseball players.
Wow.
And Dusty Baker is still cool too. He's currently the manager for the dirtbag Houston Astros. But that's not a knock on him. They brought him in because he has a sterling reputation, and they needed to look better after the sign stealing scandal.
After the what stealing scandal?
Oh, you don't know the sign stealing scandal from 2017?
No, tell me more.
Oh, okay. What is the dumbest way you can imagine cheating at baseball?
Okay. I'm not sure. You just like literally put extra points on the board.
That might actually be dumber what happened, but not by much. What they were doing was they had a TV in kind of the hall behind the dugout.
Okay.
That was showing what the pitcher was doing and showing what the catcher was doing from a camera to show what signs the pitcher was going to call to throw next.
Okay.
And then when someone on the team or someone like associated with the team figured out an off-speed pitch was coming, not a fastball, but like a changeup or sometimes a breaking ball, I believe.
Yeah.
They would take this high-tech information stolen from a camera placed on the outfield and bang on a trash can to signal to their teammates what kind of pitch was coming.
Wait, what?
Yes, they took a big trash can and they hit it with like a metal lid.
That was their technique?
This is the best they came up with. Yeah. They did it for a good part of the season. We don't really know if they did it for the postseason, but they did also then win the World Series that year.
Someone's saying that you could hear it on broadcasts during the time?
Yeah. Yeah. The whole scandal broke because like people, once the rumor came out, a couple streamers and like baseball video people went back and came up with an algorithm that could detect the sound on the old recordings and found like hundreds of instances where they were doing this over the course of the year.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And as someone pointed out in the chat, it's likely this didn't actually help them very much. But it is still like clearly cheating. So
why did it not help them very much?
Well, it turns out when you know what kind of ball is coming, it's still really hard to hit.
It's still extremely hard to hit a 90 fucking miles an hour ball, even if you know that it's going to be 90 miles an hour. I guess that makes sense.
Even if you know like a slider is coming, a slider that starts up here in the top of the strike zone and ends up outside the strike zone, very difficult to get the bat around and do anything with it.
Yeah.
So, very hard to say how much it actually helped them. So that's part of the why it was a whole weird scandal. But they've been very unpopular with most baseball fans ever since, just because they also didn't really get like punished in any way for it. Like they banned some of the people in the organization, but none of the players themselves really faced anything for it because they cooperated. So there's a lot of bitterness still, I think, towards the Astros.
God, yeah. So like, did they ever discover who was the mastermind? Who was the trash kingpin? Like, what was the?
Oh yeah. They blamed a bunch of it on the manager at the time, who they banned for a year and then immediately took another managing job somewhere else.
Ah, of course.
Baseball, very incestuous like that. But
Yeah.
but yeah, none of the actual players themselves got any heat for it, and they all had a weird chip on their shoulder about it for years, where it's like people were treating them like well, you know, we're overcoming this hardship and saying all these mean things to us when we're on the field, and we're going to overcome it and triumph. It's like, well, you don't really get like an underdog narrative because you're a total dick about this.
Yeah, no, you did the thing that was wrong.
Yeah, you were the bad guy.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of, like, it's the classic, like, on Twitter when somebody says something really dumb or offensive, and everyone yells at them, and then they're like, I'm just so hurt that all these people would disparage my character. And it's just like...
Just because I willfully did or said something incredibly stupid and offensive, you don't get to treat me like I'm less than the robust, full human being that I am.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And as John Brown's buddy in the chat points out, very funny side note early in this conspiracy theory was there was a theory that the players were wearing a buzzer under their shirt that was telling them when the signal was going off. I don't think that ended up being true, but it was very funny because this rumor went around that Jose Altuve, one of the primary members of the team, one of the best players on the team, refused to take his shirt off after a game because he did that. That was like his thing. He would rip his shirt off after a game when they won because he's just that kind of guy. And then he stopped doing it. And everyone assumed this was about the buzzer he was supposedly wearing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, his excuse, and what was probably true, was he said, well, my girlfriend doesn't like when I do that. So believe what you want. It's either he was cheating in this much more technologically advanced way that is never proven, or he's just a very loyal future wife guy.
Yeah. Or, well, there's a third option, which is that he's a medium loyal wife guy, and he got caught cheating on his wife once, and now he's not allowed to do the take his shirt off thing anymore.
That could be. That could very well be. Short king like Jose Altuve, I'm sure, has no problem pulling the ladies when he wants to.
Absolutely not. Especially with how well he did that year.
Oh, yeah.
Women love the sounds of trash can lids.
and getting to vacation in the beautiful romantic city of Houston, Texas. Yeah.
Exactly. Girls love Houston, Texas.
The babes love the part of the park with his little train that runs around with. The ladies love that.
Yeah, that's true though. That part's actually very true. That's not a joke.
No, we do love the baseball trains. Yeah.
We do like to watch the train go around. That's normal though. That's standard stuff.
Yeah, no, that's just a bonus when it's also involving sports.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about it, there's at least 2 good trains in baseball where like they have train-related activities when someone does something. There's one in Minnesota, and then one in Houston. I wonder if anybody else has like a train.
I think every city should have a baseball train. That's like a nice whimsy thing that we could all have.
Absolutely. At the very least, you need like a light rail that takes you to the stadium or something.
Yeah. We have one of those here. Our subway does run to the stadium here, which is very nice.
That makes a huge difference, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Phoenix had that, and then they have the metro here in DC as well, and that makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. I actually did a kind of a side project just for my own curiosity about like what were the most accessible stadiums in terms of like living experience to getting to the park in terms of like convenience, and really only I think Atlanta was the only city where it was like a genuine nightmare where you have to drive. Maybe Kansas City too. Like there's just no way to get to the stadium without parking your car and driving like an asshole. Yeah.
I mean, isn't the whole point of Atlanta that like it's fundamentally like super structured around being as like racially segregated as possible? So I feel like that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that's their whole thing now. Yeah, they had a really nice Turner Field park in downtown Atlanta for years and years, and then they moved to the whitest possible suburb, whitest and wealthiest suburb to get away from that.
Hmm.
Yeah. But they have a Waffle House in the stadium. How bad could it be?
Yeah, that, you know, you gotta look on the bright side sometimes.
And it is a good Waffle House, in fairness. I got to go when I was there. So.
Helldude says they don't have sidewalks in Atlanta, but Helldude said it, so it does not necessarily true. It's just a thing that was said.
When I was doing my looking into that, I did do like a Google Maps walkthrough of the closest possible way to get to the stadium, and I do think it involved zero sidewalking for a little bit. I don't think they had to get on the freeway, but there was a lot of walking on a really big street with the. I think there was like several parts of the destination where you had to like walk through the parking lot of a Jiffy Lube to get there.
That's fine. That's like a kind of sidewalk.
Yeah, totally. I'm fascinated to find out. Tarek has an Atlanta arc I don't know about. I need to explore that see what that's about later.
Wait, sorry, what was that? Could you run that by me again?
Helldude says I didn't know he spent any time in Atlanta. I'm gonna have to investigate this at some point.
Oh yeah, Atlanta Helldude. That's the next Helldude arc. He's there doing research for his next character.
Oh yeah, he's gonna become ATL Helldude who runs a lemon pepper chicken wing stand.
Exactly.
No, we shouldn't just be giving him bits for free.
Yeah,
that's a service we should be charging people. Oh, yeah. Cianara is right. I think another excuse Altuve gave for the shirt thing was he said he had like a half-finished tattoo. He gave a couple excuses, and that was, I don't know, the girlfriend was the funniest. That's what I remember.
The fact that he gave multiple excuses now makes it seem more dubious.
Yeah, I mean, there wouldn't just be any one reason why you'd stop ripping off your shirt after a game and showing off your weird absence of chest hair as a 5'5" baseball player.
That's such a 5'5" guy who goes to the gym thing to do, though. That's like
totally
extremely like. Because, like, I feel like, you know, like, sub 5'7" gym guy has its own kind of special culture to it.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's very in line with that.
Especially, like, in a sport where most guys are, like, probably 6'1", 6'2" on average. Like, I bet the jockeys probably aren't as concerned about it. But with the baseball players, I think it's a bit of a deal.
Yeah. I'm enjoying watching the chat just disparage the Helldude.
Yeah, that's what this is all about at the end of the day. Is
priorities.
Mocking our Twitter friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's more to this game than I expected. We are so far past the point that I actually...
Really?
Yeah, no, I didn't make it anywhere close to this far, I don't think.
Well, now you're here now.
Yeah, I get to see it as it was originally intended.
Yeah, exactly, as it was always intended to be.
Sorry, I need my old person medicine. I need my Alka-Seltzer.
Oh, go for it. Take your old person medicine. Sometimes I'll be streaming and I'll forget I haven't taken my meds for the day. But, like, I have a fair amount of supplements in there, and so I take out, like, my old person fucking pill sorter and take out, like, what looks to be a dozen pills and just, like, slowly swallow all of them live on camera. So I assure you, whatever you're doing, it can't possibly seem as ancient as that makes me seem.
You should do Twitch plays my medications for
Oh yeah, I should do like I should do a special run where every time I die I take an additional Vyvanse.
Just like anytime the Twitch decides like left is just hitting amphetamines over and over and over again.
Yeah, donate 100 bits so I'll take another 40 milligram Adderall. That's $1, folks.
Oh, I think you need to at least donate the actual street value of one Adderall. That's which is probably like I would guess. I don't know. I shouldn't talk about selling Adderall on the stream. That's probably not a good idea.
I wouldn't know what the street value of one Adderall is.
No, me
Unfortunately.
neither. Me
No,
neither.
totally. I've certainly never. Me? No, no way. I don't even know any college students.
No, I certainly never sold prescription drugs in the mail to people I knew from on forums 15 years ago. That's never happened.
Honestly, you're probably safe. When we had Chris Person on here, he was talking about... Were you a Something Awful user?
Yes.
Unfortunately, yes. Do you remember when the juice thread, when that, like, powderized fucking form of Xanax came out, called, like, Phenazepam, and everyone on Something Awful was taking it and blacking out for weeks at a time?
Oh my god. I remember the Phenazepam thread in very vague terms. But I think that was a little bit before my time on there. But goons love taking all sorts of weird drugs that they can find.
They do. They do.
That's where I first found out about the kratom. That's where I first found out about obviously many of these full deniability. I've only heard their names. I don't know what they're like.
Yeah.
Synthetic weed was big there for a long time. Research chemicals were huge there in the early days.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I feel like that spirit has passed to Reddit, but yeah, it started there a lot of ways.
Totally. Kratom is a weird one because I feel like Kratom has like almost graduated from research chem into like a thing that like everyone had to acknowledge legitimately like seems to help people quit opioids or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably like going to be the CBD of like the mid-20s where like our parents are going to get weirdly into it a little bit.
Oh, I could see that. I could see my mom getting really into Kratom.
I think it'll happen. I think we're going to get there. And I don't know, maybe I should invest now. That could be a good side hustle.
Yeah, exactly. Like how Street Fight Radio used to sell Kratom. If you remember the Street Fight Radio Kratom era.
Yes, I love that about them.
God.
The only podcast willing to admit that you should take whatever medicine works for you. Absolutely.
The first podcast that will directly sell you drugs. like on
the first but not the last. Yeah.
And, like on their fucking podcast account and everything. It's not like I have a second business where I do this. It was like get the official branded Street Fight Radio. Oh, that kicked ass.
I mean, if it's good enough for Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson, it should be good enough for our guys.
Absolutely.
It's true, yeah. It's called running a small business. Street Fight is the only good one.
I love the Street Fight guys. They're great. It's not gonna deal with you. My problem. I want to see this first boss before we...
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We haven't even gotten to a boss. I don't know. Did I ever actually get to a boss in...
This would be the first. This is the Cleric Beast.
Oh, okay. Were there like mini bosses before that? Because that might have been as far as I got.
There's a couple like large enemies that are plucked from later in the game that they drop into the early game to serve as like mini bosses. Yeah.
Yeah, I never got past those guys. That's how bad I was.
It's understandable.
Yeah, there's a reason I mostly stick to like Cyberpunk 2077 and then sports video games. I can't do anything else.
Sports video games elude me. They're too complicated for me. There's all these rules because you got to know the rules of the sport, and then you also have to figure out how the game works.
That's definitely the trickiest part, especially like the baseball ones. Especially, I think they don't necessarily work the way a baseball logic does. I don't know if other sports like this too, but like, games are they're not actually as realistic to the physics as people might think.
Really?
Yeah. Like MLB The Show, which is a big one. It's like the closest like an actual baseball simulator that's not just like management.
Yeah.
Takes some liberties with the physics in a way that bugs me as someone who cares a lot about like the statistical side of the game. It's such an incredibly nerdy way to approach the subject.
When you say take liberty with the physics to it, do you mean like everyone's popping dingers way easier kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah, like pitches that should hit in certain places, rather go with like what the algorithmic outcome is rather than what the actual like physics would be.
Yeah.
Which like I think most people don't really care. I think most people who play that game are just doing like the online stuff where it's like a card collecting. They're big in like the card collecting and loot box kind of era.
Yeah.
So I don't think those guys care at all. But as someone who really only plays the boring road to the show parts, it drives me nuts.
You're there for the math.
I'm there. Thank you. Yes, I'm there for the math. I am there for creating a player who should be good but isn't, and is thusly not rewarded for it. And strives in the minor leagues forever. That's like my idea of like a good role playing time. Yeah.
What's your formula for creating that kind of player? What indicates a player who will thrive in the minor leagues but never do well otherwise? What are the key traits?
They throw a knuckleball 90% of the time. Knuckleball is terrible in MLB show. It can be made to work well, but I never do because that's less fun. But are you familiar with a knuckleball at all?
I'm not. Go on. Tell me more.
It's almost an entirely archaic pitch at this point. Almost no one actually throws it at the professional level.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've heard about it as a child from like my dad or like television media, but I don't think I've ever heard like a baseball person talking about an actual baseball game say knuckleball.
Yeah, it's incredibly rare now. Even like 5-10 years ago, there was 1 or 2 guys who could get away with it, but now it's so incredibly rare. I think there was 1 guy who pitched knuckleball last season, and what's weird about it is most baseballs use certain script positions you can take to hold the ball. Knuckleballers try to grab with their nails and try to keep the ball in touch, and they actually take meticulous care of their nails because of this. They have longer nails than most players do.
Okay.
And they try to throw the ball in such a way that it creates 0 spin. Like a lot of baseball is creating as much spin as possible, so the ball is you can control where the ball goes as much as possible.
Yes.
But a knuckleballer tries to throw with 0 spin, or as close to 0 spin as possible, like 1 or 2 rotations of the ball from the mound to home plate. Because then the ball will just break in any goddamn way it pleases.
It's like unpredictable?
Ideally, it's completely unpredictable. When you don't do it right, it gets crushed every time. But really good knuckleballers could like totally elude batters for a long time. And then people started throwing the ball really, really hard, and suddenly that doesn't do anything anymore. Like the players got better, and the pitching got harder and more competitive, and there's just no room in baseball for knuckleballs anymore. But it's great in the video game because it's like a crazy pitch to watch. It doesn't do what anyone thinks it should do, and it's also like totally futile in the long term in terms of like building a character out.
Oh, so it is in fact accurate to the knuckleball in that it's not good.
Pretty much. Pretty much. You could do anything else better and more efficiently than throw a knuckleball, which is a shame. We should bring back the weird kind of baseball. We need to figure that out.
Where that was viable. So I'm gonna, based on what you said earlier, would that have been a viable way to pitch in Japan?
You know, that's a good question.
Is the knuckleball still viable in the Japanese meta?
There's definitely guys in Japan and South Korea who throw a lot slower and get by on kind of funkier stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a tradition of knuckleballing there in particular, just because they have a very different kind of like, they teach pitching very differently there, and a different like pipeline for pitch development that players go through.
Gotcha.
So that's a good question. They have a lot of their own funky pitches though. Like they throw a lot of fork balls that you never see here. And they're also
balls?
like, everybody there throws a splitter. Yeah, it's way more common to throw slightly more bizarre pitches than what we see here, which is like it's 90% of baseball players probably throw fastball, slider, changeup, maybe a curveball.
Yeah.
It's much rarer to see like a gyro ball or a fork ball or.
I've never heard these. I would have thought these were from Pokemon. I've never heard of any of these.
They could be. They could be like the 7th or 8th, the balls you get like the 7th or 8th gym level of capturing people easily.
Exactly. Yeah, gyro ball especially sounds like something from Pokemon as opposed to something you do in baseball. What is that?
Oh god, I don't even know if I know how gyro ball breaks. It's so rare. There is actually one pitcher now who, because every now and then pitchers will kind of invent their own thing. There's a guy right now who does throw a pitch he calls the Airbender, because he is a fan of the show.
That's kind of cute.
Yeah, so like the standard pitches are like a fastball, curveball, and an off-speed pitch. Those are the three primary types of pitches that are out there.
Okay.
Fastballs are tend to be pretty much the same across the board. There's some that are either harder thrown or have more movement, and that's four-seam, two-seam, or two-seam sometimes interchangeably called a sinker. But they're, in at least MLB The Show, they're categorized in different pitches for some reason. Oh, my stupid guide of how they break is not showing up.
Oh no. Gyro Ball is everyone's saying Gyro Ball is a steel type move in Pokemon, in fact.
I would not be surprised at all. Yeah. Other kind of good fun pitches are forkball, the screwball. I really love a splitter. It's not like a funny one, but it's just an aesthetically beautiful pitch when it gets thrown well.
What defines a splitter?
A splitter is technically it's also called a split fastball. It's technically not a breaking pitch. It is a kind of fastball.
Okay.
But the idea is that the motion makes it drop off right at the end of the pitch, like right before it gets to the plate. It just takes a sudden and pretty drastic, just swoop straight down into the dirt. And when they pull it off, it's just gorgeous.
How do they do that? They put a forward spin on it?
God, I don't have enough personal experience to know how all the handers are. I believe the splitter is like off seam, way far apart on the hands, like you grip it like a T-Rex claw almost.
Okay.
And just it tumbles in kind of an unusual way, such that it like falls straight down at the end, ideally when it gets crushed. But it's having a bit of a resurgence right now, I think in part because Shohei Ohtani throws a really good one. He's like the most popular player in the world right now.
Gotcha.
Are you familiar with him? Like that's come through?
I am not actually, believe it or not.
Oh, really? You would like Shohei Ohtani? He's
Yeah, I like to think that usually I at least know who like the big names are. This name has eluded me.
Yeah, he came over a couple years ago from Japan, and he's a superstar now because of last season, where it was the first year he came over as a two-way player, which no one's really done since like Babe Ruth, in terms of like actually playing at the major league level as both a pitcher and a hitter, like full time as both. But he had like an incredible season last year, arguably one of the most valuable seasons of the last 100 years or so.
Whoa, Jesus!
He's also just like a very like funny, gorgeous 6'4" man who has incredible personality. Is very cool. But he also is like genuinely like superstar hitter and pitcher. It's incredibly rare.
He's just a charmer as well.
Very much so. Yeah.
On top of that, always a treat.
Very much. Yeah, and it was true. I think today it actually came out. He was going to be on the box cover of the MLB The Show this year.
Ooh.
It's going to be on Switch. It's going to be on the Switch now for the first time, also.
Oh, actually, so the gays will be able to play baseball. The girls and gays will be able to play now.
Yes, finally. I don't need to ever turn on my PlayStation again. Oh, Galentine asks, do I know of or like Blaseball? I am familiar with it. I never really got into it. My co-host on the podcast did, but it's cool. I never really sat down and got too into it, though. I think we're going to try to do something about it on the podcast at some point. Because it is very fun. Do you know Blaseball at all?
I know of Blaseball. Blaseball is like a... I'm going to say a phrase, but it already exists as a real thing, so it's not going to actually come across the way I want to say. That's like fantasy baseball, right? But imagine if like the term fantasy baseball did not mean what it did, and just like take the words fantasy and baseball.
Very much so, yeah. It very much strikes me as like actual fantasy baseball and not just like boring 25-year-old former college kids trying to relive their glory days through stats. Yeah. Not that I should judge fantasy baseball too hard, because I spent a lot of time doing that. I'm judging from a place of experience.
Look, I know. I do this. Yes, surreal baseball is a good way to put it. That seems to be what I understand that it is.
Yeah. But Blaseball is great because it understands that baseball should be silly and bizarre and stupid. Real fantasy baseball is boring because they all think it should be dull and as serious enough as possible, and as dry as humanly possible.
Yeah, and that's just not. I guess that comes to the divide between people who look at it as at their sport as like an objective metric of comparable skill between two groups of athletes versus like the approach of like, this is a piece of entertainment and I want it to whip ass and be cool.
Very much so, yeah. And I think even within like the fantasy sports world, baseball is a little bit more for diehards than like fantasy football is. Where my understanding from playing it just once or twice is that it's kind of random if you win or lose. You're kind of just doing it for like the social aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, fantasy football is just like a thing that guys do to hang out with each other because they're not allowed to like just do that.
Exactly. Yeah, they need an excuse to just like throw out that's not gay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantasy baseball, you actually have to like know the stats and check them every single day and like follow it really closely if you want to win. Which, yeah, that's why the real freaks are into fantasy baseball rather than fantasy football.
Got you. So, are you into fantasy baseball because it would double with your job already? Like.
Yeah, I was into it for a long time, mostly because I got to make my own spreadsheets, and I love making good spreadsheets.
I love that you've managed to take your job at making spreadsheets and turn it into a hobby where you make a different kind of spreadsheet.
Yeah, exactly. Spreadsheets aren't my job; they're my passion. Yeah.
Exactly.
I wonder if it's like a spreadsheet streaming, if that's something that people do. Maybe that would be my pivot. That'd be good.
Yeah, they're plotting your ass in spreadsheet Twitter.
Oh, good question. How much of baseball is skill versus luck? My friend who was super into it, and whenever he would talk, it kind of made it sound like very luck-based. There is a good amount of luck in terms of the outcome in baseball. Like I said earlier, like it's really hard to actually. There's people talk about baseball like, well, okay, if you just hit it the other way, there's no one standing out there, you'll get a hit every time. But it's very hard to actually do that. And we don't think players actually have as much control where the ball goes as they think they do, or as people think they do.
Yeah.
There is a certain amount of luck in like, well, do you hit it right at the outfielder every single time, or does it just miraculously drop 20 feet to his left? That is a pretty significant, over the course of a season, to be a pretty significant outcome on how good a player is.
Yeah.
Which is part of why the stats are cool, because like you're trying to figure out, well, was this guy bad or was he just really unlucky? Like that's part of the appeal.
How do you know? What's your indicator that someone like really just kind of sucks ass instead of like being like an unfortunate like victim of the fates?
That is kind of the big question, because if you can figure that out, you can then trade for that player and turn it around, and suddenly you'll be really good, which has happened many times now. But like the thinking changes constantly. Like this statistical community is still very much like an active thing and constantly developing. Mm-hmm. But it's very much an ongoing process of figuring it, determining whether someone is good or just lucky, or conversely terrible and or very unlucky. Mm-hmm. But it happens every single year. Some guy will be like abysmal, and then next year turn it around and be one of the best in the game. That happens. Like there's one or two guys like that every season.
Well, every season.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So is there like a formula or general idea of how to detect those guys? Then, because it seems like at a certain point it would become extremely prudent to be able to figure that out. Is that where you come in?
They're constantly trying to invent all new stats and new ways of measuring. Like the big one now is to look for StatCast data. In the last couple of years, they've implemented like these new radar tracking systems in stadiums that let you like get really detailed information about like launch angle, and, spin rate, and all these like much more developed numbers than what they were looking at previously. And it's made a big difference in terms of like figuring out how to most optimally hit the ball for efficiency.
Yeah.
And it's actually changing a lot of how guys play the game. Like they're looking at that stuff way more now. So it's actually players do seem to be getting more savvy with the numbers than they have been in previous years. So you're seeing more consistency in guys as they make those adjustments over time.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. It's the whole bizarre
They're like
thing.
applying the stats themselves as the player.
Oh yeah, more and more players are like deep into the side of things. There's like increasingly less of like the jockey kinds of athletes, because I think they've realized like if they want to get paid and have a long career, they have to actually give a shit about this one stuff.
Got you. So would you say that this is like the era of like the podcasting player?
Oh, definitely. Oh, there's so many players who podcast now. Yeah, dozens of players, current and former, are all big in podcasting. It's
Really?
Oh yeah. A bunch of them have kind of latched on to different media enterprises that do shows for like John Boy Media, or a bunch of them YouTube, a bunch of YouTube channels. A ton of them stream. They all play Fortnite in their off time.
Yeah. That's the trick. Is you play Fortnite and a bunch of people follow you.
Yeah,
So I've been told. I have abstained because I'm scared that a like tween will like crush me and call me a fag, and it'll just like destroy me socially and morally. But I do know that it works for a lot of other people who are less scared of tweens teabagging them than I am.
That makes sense. Maybe you have to do the reverse, and then when the show comes to Switch, stream that and flip it on them. Call anyone who's playing that game a jock boost.
You're right. That's a good idea. Yeah, I should just start telling them that it's gay to be good at sports or something like that. That would be the move.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But fellas, is it a little sus to be spending all that time in a locker room with other guys? I think he's stealing the bag and you're tagging him on the legs. That's not a little questionable.
Yeah. You don't see where this gets a little spicy?
Yeah, batting around plug. We love the subtext of all sports, but especially baseball. Got him.
Let's fucking go. I'm proud of myself for that one, because it seemed like for a moment there was a hitbox error and about a third of my hits just did no damage.
Oh no.
So
well, that's very PSX.
That's what, you know, here at Pro Gamer Academy for excellent gamers, we're ready for those things.
Absolutely, you gotta be. So is this like about the end of the demo? Or is there more to it past the first
There's
boss?
more to it after this. There's like, I think it goes at least up to the second boss, which is pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
This is like,
That's like
an impressive effort, especially considering that this is like developed by a single person.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, if this is like a single person project.
Yeah, Lilith Walter developed it, as far as I know, like all on her own. I guess I'll find out the details. She's actually going to be on the stream this time next week to talk about this. So,
yeah,
which is going to be very cool.
I'm glad people still do stuff like this. Like when I was playing video games, it was like the best times I had were in like the modding scene for like Half-Life and Battlefield 1942.
Oh yeah.
This really reminds me of like all those really creative and cool projects from the time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm such a huge fan of the things that that fans make out of the things they love. I think it's adorable.
Oh, totally. Especially like these like total conversions like this. Like it seems like a lot of games you can't do that anymore. They're too advanced to like do like a full like retread or reinvention of the game. But this is like an awesome throwback.
Yeah, this is really an exceptionally well done one. All right, now where's my doll? I need to level up. Where are you? Where are you with your weird Eastern European voice that they love to put in all their games?
Oh, Clarm the Bird Admirer, good point. Hunter Pence is like maybe the biggest MLB. He's a former player now, until very recently he's active. But he actually hosts a weekly Magic the Gathering tournament.
Hunter, really? I love that.
Yeah. Hunter Pence, great guy. Seems like a really sweet guy. Definitely one of the biggest like nerds in the game. And I think he's actually really active on Twitch too. I think he's a big streamer guy now. I think he has a YouTube channel too.
He's just gone full like content creator.
Yeah, I mean he was a giant for a long time, so you get these tech guys in San Francisco. Maybe it rubbed off on him.
That's fair. And just the transitive property of being that close to all those nerds. That's understandable. That happens.
It does, yeah. One of the many great things about not being in, thankfully, none of that rubs off in Washington, D.C., where we just become political slime balls over time. I think he did play for the Phillies for a minute, but I mostly remember him from his time with the Giants, where he was on, I think, 1 or 2 of the World Series teams.
Yeah, well, yeah, if he was with the Phillies, there probably was not a World Series team.
No, it's been a little while now. Although, I think Phillies Twitter is particularly well represented on, or Phillies Twitter is particularly well represented just because, like 2007, 2008 were like those big years for the team, and that was kind of when Twitter was still cool in like establishing itself.
Yeah.
There's like ravenous Phillies fans still around because of that, I think.
Oh, totally. And I mean, there's just like Philadelphia sports fans love to get mad and yell at stuff. And Twitter is like Twitter offers infinite that. Like,
very well.
You can find something, like, you can literally get online at any time and be like, I can find something to become mad at right now.
That's the best part of it. It's just like, it's the soul-killing engine.
Yeah, it truly is.
It's not wholesome like Twitch, where it's very much a pure experience with no downside.
Exactly, yeah. Nothing weird or bad ever happens here on Twitch. However, Twitter, I honestly, I do think Twitter has a certain special level of noxious that I don't think any website, at least in like the Web 2.0 era, can match. Like, there used to be that every website was that toxic. But,
precisely. That's why I still like Twitter the most, is because it's the most like posting on a horrifying message board in 2005, where someone will like say something so horrifying to you that you feel like you have to,
yeah. No, Twitter's great. Twitter, you'll log in and you'll find somebody who like genuinely believes that black people have an extra bone that makes them better at basketball, and then you can talk directly to them about it, and they can fuck it. Like, it's just, you never before have you been able to jack directly into the brain of the dumbest guys so easily.
Yeah. Every single day there's like one person who's like, yeah, I'm a pedophile. What?
It's okay, it's true.
You never see it anywhere else. If anybody like screen caps that and records me saying it, I'm so fucked. I really hope no one does. Oh god. Oh, I have so many regrets.
Every day someone logs in and says, what? What was that? Could you say that slowly into the mic for us?
Oh, it's true. If only there were still beheading videos. That's the one thing.
That was the last. Yeah, the last good era was when you could tweet at an ISIS guy and be like, "Hey, nice Adidas," and he'd be like, "Thank you."
Yeah, I don't agree with what you're doing or doing it with swag. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the compliment on my shoes. Of course, death to you, degenerate transsexual. Of course, you know.
It's a given. It's fine.
Yeah.
You're not saying anything. We're not thinking about ourselves.
Yeah. Oh god, that was such a good. That was the best era of Twitter. Was when it was just really Wild West shit.
Yeah, all happening at the same time, where brands were figuring out that like they could like Oreos are on fleek right next to that happening.
Well, see, they missed out. There was never a brand that did a bit where they joined ISIS.
No, they should have though.
Brands weren't edgy enough yet. It wasn't like it wasn't until like a year or two after that, like that Moon Pie just started to like tell people to kill themselves when they had complaints. Like
it's true. If they had not banned the ISIS people just quite yet, I think we would have at least seen like Bacon Bits or someone being like, "Yeah, I'm on a plane to Afghanistan right now." Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on my way to the Ukraine. Don't worry, I'm joining whichever side you think is wrong. Please buy my product.
We might actually still get to see like a couple apps do that. Like a talk therapy app will go over there to sign up.
Oh, God, I hope so. I can't wait. I can't wait until like, you know, like my phone's like moon cycle tracking app goes to Ukraine. I think that's gonna kick ass.
Absolutely, it's only a matter of time. Oh, speaking of Moon Pie, and funny comment in the Moon Pie chat, one of my favorite Moon Pie things of all time. In Arizona, even when I was a kid, but for like several decades before I was a kid, there was a children's show hosted by these two guys called Wallace and Ladmo. Was kind of their gimmick name. It was like a morning kid show, goofy, fun. But it was like public access television. It wasn't really didn't have any money. It was really popular locally, but they needed sponsors. But they also hated the idea of having a sponsor, and somehow they arranged a sponsorship with Moon Pie, on the condition that Moon Pie doesn't get to tell them what they do with the product at all. So they would like kick Moon Pies into the crowd for like 20-something years as their primary source of funding for their public access beloved Arizona local television show. So in a sense, Moon Pie has always been on the cutting edge of weird, poorly thought out advertising, and I do respect their brand for that.
Yeah, I have to admit, like, it was a real stroke of genius whenever whatever social media manager like went into their boss at like went and talked to, like, I don't know what the guy who made Moon Pie's name is.
Mr. Pie.
Yeah, June Pie, and was like, hey, I have this idea. What, you know, people are always having complaints on the internet. What if I just start fucking telling our customers that I fucked their mom? Like, would that be like a valid, you know? And then they did it, and it was like, all of a sudden, it was like, wow, the new thing for fucking social media managers is to tell your aggrieved customers that you're nutting in their parents. Like, you know, it's like, it's crazy. It's
absolutely. And speaking from experience, I love knowing that was a multi-tiered process with several layers of approval.
Oh yeah.
That all had to be handled with very polite emails explaining conceptually what you were doing and why.
Yeah, what do you think about someone also had to pitch, like, who was it? What was the brand that like pretended to have a suicidal episode and then all the other brands came and comforted them? Do you remember this? Like,
I remember that. I feel like it was a cereal brand or something. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, those kinds of things are always funny to me because I know a bunch of those by this person. Like, one person will handle a half dozen brands, so that person will just reply to their other brands for like easy engagement. That's like one of those like general like food brand Twitter things that no one tells you about. It's like there's only like 7 or 8 guys who do like 80%.
Oh yeah, they just all chat with each other, right? I can only assume it's just like one guy making all of these different brand accounts, collecting multiple paychecks, talk to each other.
Yeah. Oh, very like dance puppets dance.
Yes, exactly. The internet's so bad. Alright, I won't keep you too late. And I got some stuff I have to do off stream, but thank you so much for coming on, Lauren.
Yeah, for sure. This is super fun. This is like a great game. I gotta check this out.
Yeah, please do. And thank you so much for coming. Do you anything you'd like to plug before we go? There certainly could be some people here that were not here when you plugged at the beginning.
Totally, yes. If you're interested in baseball from kind of a vaguely lefty LGBT experience perspective, Batting Around podcast. It's on all the different platforms. We have a good time. It's a fun show. We have an active Discord as well. I think that's it. I'll keep it pretty simple. This was super awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm gonna find someone to raid into, and we can launch our viewers into somebody else's chat and ruin their life.
Absolutely. I am gonna bail out of here. Thanks for everyone who listens and watched.
Yeah, go for it. Make your escape. Alright, which of you people's lives am I gonna ruin? Oh, Eric V's on. I'm determined to make Eric V be a Twitch partner by the end of the year, so go watch Eric. I've been following Eric since I started streaming. His content is so much better than mine. More people should watch him. Alright, thank you guys all so much. Tomorrow we are going to be back. We will have Will Menaker on, and we're doing Deadly Premonition. It's going to be sick. We have more stuff coming up. There might be a bonus stream this Friday. It's a little up in the air, but I'm thinking we might clown around a little bit this Friday, so to speak. But you guys all have an awesome night. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you all tomorrow. And and bye-bye.